Congressman Cory Mills, a Florida Republican, with us right now. Congressman, the president is talking about beefing up regulations, not directly, but that's certainly being intimated by his Treasury Secretary and others. Do you think they're warranted here?
Well, I think that, Neil, we certainly need to look at certain regulations to ensure the safety of individuals who are depositors. I think when it comes to investors, they're kind of at their own risk. You know, it's like the community pool of swim at your own risk, well, bank and invest at your own risk. But it's really interesting to me, Neil, that you have so many Americans who will go on these tirades about M&Ms or Nike or the woke businesses that are out there. And, you know, the co-founder for Home Depot, Bernie Marcus, really hit on this. You know, our banking is something that we should be looking at very highly as well, what their actual risk lending procedures are, whether or not it is one of the wokest banks who is looking at prioritizing certain ESG-based investments, which have had very poor returns on investment, as opposed to kind of your more traditional lending. And so I think that we have to start looking at this. But, Neil, what really disturbs me is two things. We saw what happened in the 2008 recession, where we bailed out tons of banks, tons of investment lenders, and instead of putting the necessary wording in place, they were awarding themselves with bonuses and payouts for failure. And we saw this with the recent CEO of Silicon Valley Bank, where he cashed out with almost $2.5 million in profits, knowing the bank was in failure. Why wasn't his first thing to do to alert the depositors and alert his clients and the patrons, as opposed to thinking about his own independent wealth and bonuses for everyone who's in the bank for failure?
I can see that a number of investigations are in the works on that front, Congressman. I am curious, though, do you think that, you know, we can examine the TikTok and all of this and who knew what and when, and I get that, sir. But what's ironic is that the Federal Reserve and the dramatic hike in rates, I mean, if you think about it, Congressman, it was a year ago on Friday that we started raising rates from 0 to where they are now, close to 5%. Some people just got caught on the wrong end of that. A lot of banks, like this one, were buying those securities at that price high, if you think about it. And then they had to sell to cover some people who were taking money or wanted to take money out of the bank, they were upside down on that. So the irony was, on a relatively conservative investment, it turned out to electrocute them. And there might be many other banks in the same position. What do you think of that?
Well, Neil, you're exactly right. And again, you know, as your previous guest, Robert, and yourself have accurately stated, you cannot continue to have this inflationary spending that is going on. And it's occurred on both Republican and Democrat presidents alike. But we continue to get ourselves into a point where we do have a GDP to national debt offset of 129% in its ratio. You know, as a former business owner, I can tell you, if my account receivables are 129% less than my account payables, then I'm going to be insolvent as a business. That's what we are as a country. And so this idea as well, when we're approaching this new national debt ceiling, that we can cut our ways to prosperity is foolish. It's a fool's errand. We know in businesses that you get to a certain size that you can't cut yourself to profitability. The only way that you can actually succeed is to actually gain more revenue. So we have to start thinking about onshoring. We have to start addressing workforce issues. We have to start looking at our rare mineral mine resourcing and explorations. We have to essentially not just look at discretionary, indiscretionary, mandatory cuts, but we have to start looking at GDP growth. And the idea that we can just print more money and get our way back to prosperity through cuts, I think it's a fool's errand. And that's why we're in the situation we're in.
That is very well put. It helps to have a guy who was steeped in school in running a business to know that if you owe more than you're taking in, that is not sustainable. Congressman, thank you very, very much.